Hi and welcome to Dean Park. March has been a busy month here on the layout. I've been busy on my scratch builds for the depot area, so I'll be able to update you on a couple of those. I've also added some new rolling stock to the layout, and I've been working on small kits and detailing items as well. So without further ado, I'll run you through what I've been up to. Any questions, please do get in touch. In my last update, I highlighted progress on my scratch-built low-relief warehouse, along with small extension office at the side. This is now in position on the layout, and I really think it fits in quite well with the position of the TMD, along with the buildings and the back scene around about it. I'll take it off the layout and I'll show you how I went about painting it and weathering it and adding some small details. The warehouse is quite a long structure, so I'll just focus on the office first. This is fully detachable from the actual warehouse section, so I could technically just have the warehouse on its own if I wanted. It's to create the illusion that there is an office extension that runs the length of the warehouse as well, so hence it continues in that direction. I've built it from MDF with plasticard brickwork and this kind of V-groove fascia that is the same that is used on the actual warehouse. I got the windows laser cut myself, and I've added in a windowsill there as well. I've given it frosted glass because there's no interior into it. I didn't really want to have to put an interior into such a small area anyway. The roof itself, a bit of MDF with grooves in it, and I've added a small plastic strip around the edges. Not this bit because it's obviously continuing onwards into the back scene, and that's just a very small piece of evergreen plastic strip that was glued on and then obviously painted along with the roof. There you can see the texture of the MDF there slightly on the roof. I actually quite like that. It looks like the felt of the actual roof structure and covering. What I did when I painted this, you might see, I don't know where the camera's picking up, it's quite bright at this end of the layout, we're directly under a light, you see. There's darker areas along where the lines are. I pre-shaded it. What I did, I primed it first, then pre-shaded it in rubberized black colour from Tamiya, and then I went across it in a German grey colour and just feathered it in, so actually from what I can see here is I can still see the darker areas on the roof, just to give it the effect of the joins and maybe where the more of the water might settle, and obviously a build up in grime. So that has been designed to be fully contactable with the warehouse. I've even cut out a small section here so it fits around the corrugation, and again just slots seamlessly and clips into place there. I'll just focus on one part of the warehouse because it's identical. There's obviously three identical structures here. That was V-groove plasticard, which is on top of a 0.5 plasticard sheet, and then it's glued to the MDF. That just gives it a pronounced look here above the brick, which is the case with the prototype which I was basing it on. There is edging that's gone on here. That's 0.25 plasticard sheet, which I scribed and then bent round and glued, as the same with the area at the top there at the apex. This is Slater's corrugated sheet. More details of this are available in the last update as well, before it was painted, and that was just glued onto the MDF. And I've taken weathering powders, Humber weathering powders, dark earth, and also some black, and just dry brushed them into the corrugations, if you like, to give it that muck. And when I'll change the angle of the camera soon, you'll be able to see it. But again, we're right under a tube light here, and it tends to lighten everything. The downpipes here, I'm quite impressed with myself actually here, because they are just actual posts that came out of Scale Model Scenery Modern Speed Sign kits, and they're very fine, and they're actually scale size to a downpipe. And I've not left them grey. I primed them and then gave them a paint grey, a lighter shade, to mimic grey downpipes, and I put some small brackets there just to hold it to the brickwork. Now when I change the angle of the the camera to let you see the roof detail, you'll also see that there's a kink in this pipe here to allow it to follow the wall, because obviously the blue cladding is pronounced, and that took a bit of work and a bit of thought. The doors here have got a surround, a blue painted surround, as well as obviously the doors being painted blue to match the actual, I think that was Humbrol 109, the blue shade. It's World War I blue, I think they call it. So I'm really quite impressed with actually what I've managed to achieve here. The brickwork is my usual, Humbrol 70, a wash with 121 for the mortar, then wiped off, and then dry brush again with some different tones of brick. But what I tried to do here was kind of make the brick a bit more brown, so I kind of laid off the red brick colours and left it in a more kind of 1980s build brown brick. From this angle you might be able to see more of the roof grime in the corrugations, and you might be able to see as well the kink that I've got in this downpipe to allow it to follow the form of the building. Another thing I did with this, I didn't just paint it 109 and leave it. After painting it 109, I went and then lightened some 109 with some light grey, and then I kind of feathered it in vertical motions down the front of the corrugations. Obviously I had all the brickwork masked off, and it gave it a kind of faded streaky look, so it's not as bright blue as it would have been as if newly painted. It's been given that kind of worn effect. Then after that had dried, I went down with some darker shades to give it a more like dirty streak look, and you might be able to see some of the streaking actually on the front there, just where the water will basically make its way down. And the same obviously with the fading, you'll get that with the rain wash and just basic exposure to the sunlight. The roof has been given a lighter fading, so it's got more white in the mix, because obviously that's going to fade more than a vertical face, depending on which way obviously it's facing. If this was a north facing, you would get less fading than you would if it was obviously south facing. When the building's in location, you could probably get a better view of the streaking and the weathering. Obviously I've weathered the blue skirting around the lower side of the roof on the small office area as well, to match in with the main warehouse itself. It's the right kind of level of weathering I was looking for. The building itself was put up in the late 70s, so it's under 10 years old at the higher end of the era that I model, so it's not going to be totally dilapidated. There's not any rust coming through or paint flake, so I've kind of got the level that I wanted to achieve. Okay, to conclude the warehouse part of this video, I've got a wee bit of detail there, which is a gutter, and it's been given more of a weathering to signify dirty water and just basically grime, maybe the odd bit of moss and stuff that's attached itself into the moist area of the gutter. You'll also see there again is the downpipe. This is right up there with my depot office for me personally in my scratch building. Yes, it's not got any windows in it, so it doesn't have the interior detail that my depot office has, but working with new fading techniques with the paintwork and just challenging myself to get as much detail as I can, guttering, downpipes, you know, all that kind of stuff to make it as real as I can, I really am impressed with what I've managed to achieve. As you'll have seen in my introduction, Class 08 has joined the Dean Park fleet, and long overdue it has been as well. It's taken a while to track this one down. I finally tracked one down at the model centre, and this was a factory weathered finished Bachmann example, but I've had the guys down at TMC give it the custom deluxe weathering appearance, and what they've done is amazing. Heavy deposits around the exhaust. There's streaking from both oil and other fluids, there's rusting, there's grime, there's faded paint, and a good bit of underframe weathering as well. It's a Bachmann model. It's not the greatest model in the world, it's not the greatest runner in the world, it's quite a basic model. There's no lights, cab interior, there's very little space for a decoder. Originally this model wasn't a DCC ready release, so Bachmann obviously updated it slightly to make it compliable with today's standards. I had an awful trouble with it to start with the running characteristics. It wanted to jump a little bit. Basically the cranks and the whole mechanism were out of sync, so I had to do a bit of rebuilding basically to get it running to a stage where I was happy with it. It's not a fast model, then again it shouldn't be, it's only a shunter. So really am impressed with this. If I move it along slightly, you might be able to see more of the end there, the wasp stripes. Again, the buffer beam detail and all that has been given a good weathering. So really I'm impressed with it. It's a good purchase, and thanks to the guys down at the modelling centre for doing such a great job with this. Okay, a couple of the kits that I've been either detailing or making this month, both from Scale Model Scenery. First of all, I've got the mesh-sided stylages. They were in this state last month, and this kit is LX182-00. I painted them after constructing them and used weathering powders from Humbrol, and then sealed them in place with a spray matte varnish. This month I've been detailing them with all sorts of junk, including pipe work, buffer beam detail, jumper cables, even some bits of wire to look like rods of metal. They were actually left over from the orange barrier fencing that I put up at the depot. This one's got a 47 roof fan in it and a frost grille from a loco at the back. That's also a Scale Model Scenery kit actually. That's been painted blue or BR blue and propped up against the side. And some rusty pipes and buffer beam detail and basically bits of metal that have been chucked in. Okay, so we've got a selection of stuff there, and they'll be placed in and around the warehouses and the sheds at the depot. The kit at the back is the Scale Model Scenery's cable drum kit. I've got half of the kit here. You get two in this state and two in this state. This one here has got its cradle for transportation, and it's not opened yet. This one is in use, and it's actually got wire. He provides wire that you can wrap round. So I've wrapped it round and held it in place with just a tiny touch of Rocket Max, and that's pretty convincing, I have to say. Really impressed with these. So they'll go in and around any, I'm thinking about a BR kind of depot workshop for all the kind of line side stuff that we did on the railway. So that might be positioned around about here on the layout actually. So I'm just building up basically details and supplies for that. In the last month I've added another class 27 to my layout. In this case it's 27033 and it's sporting the Haymarket emblem on the side of the body there. This is one of the latest releases from Helian. I think they've released 4 or 5 variants in the BR blue. And I'm quite impressed with it actually. I've just fitted the buffer beam detail and the snow ploughs. Overall, the class 27 from Helian is a decent model. It's getting on a bit in years now. It could really do a bit more room inside for a decent sized speaker, but as with all Helian locos, it runs really quiet and really smooth, and I never fail to be impressed by the hauling characteristics of the Helian drive system. It's featuring a slightly darker blue than my previous class 27, which is fine. I'm looking possibly to get this one weathered. I've been sent a lot of really helpful photographs from Dave Gilmore along at Tinsley there, so thanks for that, Dave. So I'm at the moment looking through the pictures to kind of choose the style of weathering that I would like on it, but that's a project and a job down the line. Originally I had got the Highland Stag motif class 27, it arrived. Unfortunately, when it did arrive, the tanks on the underframe had snapped off. The Helian packaging is quite tight, and I think they just snapped off in transit. So I sent it back. I got this particular model from Rails, and they sent me up this particular one because they had no more of the Highland ones in stock at the time that weren't also suffering the same problems with the snapped fuel tanks. So thanks to the guys down at Rails for taking care of me so well. I got a comment a few months back regarding drivers in the cabs of my locos. Most Bachmann products will come with drivers in their cab. Hornby and Helian don't tend to supply drivers. The HSTs really would benefit from a driver in them. So I came across this HST driver, designed to fit, by the way, in a Hornby HST, and this is from West Hill Wagon Works. If you want to go and look at these, he's actually got more than just an HST driver. He's got lots of different drivers and cab crew. So I got this from him, and it's basically going to go into one of my HSTs to see what it looks like. As I said, they're designed to fit in the Hornby HST, so I might add these and have a fleet of drivers, because there's nothing worse than having a nice running shot, or a still photograph even, of an HST or any loco in that matter, and there's no driver in the cab. So to add a wee bit of realism, I'm going to maybe stick some drivers in the cabs. I've had a lot of great feedback since I did the video on my close coupled Oxford Mark IIIs last month. These obviously have been fitted with the Hunt coupling system, so they're magnetic, and they really have given us the Mark III that we've all wanted with regard to close coupling characteristics. So now we've got the best of both worlds. We've got close coupling and a highly detailed Oxford Mark IIIA. I'll put the link to where you can get your hands on some of these close couplers in the description below. The Bachmann 158 really is an outstanding model. In fact, it was my model of 2019 here at Dean Park. However, the sound fitted one is a little bit underpowered with regard to the volume. It could really do with a speaker upgrade. So what I'm going to do in this video is show you how to put a new speaker in, and we'll do a before and an after to see if there's any difference or improvement. Body removal of the 158 requires a PhD in patience. It really is not designed to be removed easily, which is fair enough because the decoder is all housed in the underframe, so you really don't have to go into the inside of the coach, unless obviously you're fitting passengers, internal details, or as I'm doing, an upgraded speaker. What you've got to do now is you've got to remove this bar here, and there's very small screws going along the length, and then what you do is you prise it apart from the pinned area here, okay, and this bit should then be removed to allow you to access the speaker that's already there, and then the new speaker will go in there in the back corridor area. before you remove the body, you have to take 4 screws out around the valance area at the front of the coach to remove the valance, because it is delicate and you don't want that getting in the way, so be careful when you're doing that. Right, what I've done is I've prized that kind of circuit board off. As you can see there, the pins. Okay, very careful when you're prizing that off. And the speaker is attached to the underside. It's quite a small sugar cube, which is the way the Bachmann are going with their sound fitted locos with limited space. There's 2 very, very small screws here. I'm just going to remove the second one of those, and the speaker just pops off, and there is your standard fit Bachmann sugar cube. Okay, so I'll keep a hold of that, might come in handy, and always keep a hold of the screws as well. Take them out very carefully. What I've done is I've soldered the speaker wires to these 2 small pads, which are labelled SPK for speaker, and the twin sugar cube speaker I'm using is from Al's Sounds, and you can pick them up from West Hill Wagon Works, and the link to that website is in the description below. So I'll reassemble the car now and test the sounds. Well, that's the strip now screwed back in place. The speaker, you can see the purple wires. Before you fit that strip back on, put a little bit of electrical insulating tape across where you soldered the wires to the yellow strip of plastic, just to stop any shorts with the speaker happening. Okay, so just a little bit of black insulating tape there just to cover the parts that you've soldered. Some of you might think why I'm taking so long to finish the back of the depot here. After all, I ballasted and did all the weathering of the track at the turn of the year. I'm basically scratch building all the structures along the back of the depot. Start with the office, the boiler house, the warehouse, and now I'm onto this Northlight factory, which I've designed myself, and I'm in the process of scratch building and detailing. So I'll take this off the layout and give you a closer look at what I'm doing and where I'm going with this project. Okay, this is a pretty ambitious scratch build from me. It's a low relief Northlight styled factory. It's got obviously 2 stories at the right hand end and the single story workshops at the left, with a large what will be a shutter door, which I've actually not got it up here just now to show you, but it's a scale model scenery roller shutter. I'll put the link in the description below. I've designed my own windows. This has just basically been assembled today. The shell, I basically made it in different parts. This section was one, and then the 2-story part was another, and I've added the back today and glued it all together. I've used a rail match dark red brick colour, slightly different from the other colour of brick that I've used with, say, the warehouse and the boiler house, because I want this structure to be of an age that was, you know, a bit older. So it's, you know, maybe a 50s or a 60s build, and the type of brick might have been slightly different. It's got some features on it. It's got a kind of plinth, a brick plinth on the bottom there, just give it a bit more variety and stop it being so kind of slab-sided. There's no interior in this one just now, and I'll explain what I'm doing with that in a minute. There'll be skylights on these parts. Obviously, Northlight structures will have a glass or glass panels on the roof. I'm not deciding on what I'll do for the sloped roofs there and on the double story yet. I think I'm narrowing it down to kind of an asbestos sheet or slates, but I've not decided on that yet. I'm not having skylights on the two-story. It wouldn't be required. Obviously your skylights are obviously to give you natural light into the workshops below. This would be more of an office area. I've, I said, done a rail match red brick. I've done the usual mortar 121, but I darkened it slightly with a bit of light grey, and then I've gone and dry brushed some more of that brick along with some brick from Precision Paints, light and dark red brick, to give it a variation. I've got windowsills and plinths to put in, and basically what I'm going to be doing over the next month is detailing the exterior and working on the roof. The interior will be based on a design that I've seen from Richard at Everard Junction, where it is a kind of slide out modular interior. It's not going to be as detailed inside as my office. Yes, it's going to be detailed and it's going to be lit. The windows are going to be slightly dirtier, so you're not going to see in as clearly. So basically the modular design will be for the to really benefit the two-story area. So I'll be in there and I'll just lift it off and the interior will remain. So it's kind of thanks to Richard, he did that with his kind of office stroke unit for his town scene. So that's where I've kind of got the inspiration from that. So thanks for that, Richard. So really that is it just now. You've seen it on the layout. It's a project I've always wanted to attempt, the Northlight type style building. You do get them low relief from several companies, but there were two low relief for me, and the windows on some of the kits they weren't transparent, they were just basically part of the casting. So I've gone for my own design here. I've been at this now for 3 to 4 weeks. Hopefully in the next 3 or 4 weeks it'll transform itself into a working factory. I've added the shutter door there. It might be part of the workshops for the depot, you know, for maybe the machine shops, for the lathes and stuff. So that's why I've added that shutter door there. But again, it's a low relief building, giving you the impression that it continues far back into the back scene. As you'll have seen in the running shots, I've added some more of these Accurascale PFA wagons to the fleet. I've now got 9 in total, and I will get coal loads for them in due course and look at getting them weathered. But they are really stunning models. Those of you who have not seen my review on this particular release from Accurascale, the link to that is at the top of the screen. They really are stunning wagons, so well designed, and they run so freely. So yeah, couldn't resist, so I've added some more to the fleet to make up the 9. I'd just like to take this opportunity to say a massive thank you to everyone who has got involved in the Dean Park competition. What was started as a small competition to lift spirits during these difficult times has really swelled into something a lot larger. I've now got over 750 entries along with 25 prizes. New prizes have been added almost every day. Even in the last 48 hours I've had the Deltic Preservation Society, I've had Hornby Magazine, Hattons and Perth Model Rail Show. They've also come on board. So a massive thank you to everyone who's contributed, and thank you as well for taking the time to watch the video. I hope you've enjoyed it. The feedback certainly has been pretty positive, and by now in the end of the competition on the 18th of April, hopefully we'll have even more entries and some more prizes as well. So again, thanks very much for taking the time to support this. It's certainly given us a bit of a lift in these difficult times. Well, that's it for this update. I hope you've enjoyed it and got something from it that you can use on your own layouts. With the 158 sound upgrades, the new rolling stock, the scratch building and the small details that I've been adding, it's been quite a busy month at Dean Park. The next month will hopefully see me continue my scratch building along the back of the depot and then start to weather and tie in all the buildings with some scenic material. That's the plan anyway. Obviously we're living in quite an unusual time at the moment, so we'll kind of see how it progresses. But I hope you've got something from this video, and take care and see you again soon. Cheers just now.